Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about schema drift. Imagine this. You wake up, your dashboards are off, your pipelines have failed, you haven't changed anything. No code, no configuration. So what happened? The structure of your source data changed, and your system wasn't ready for it. This is what we call schema drift, and it catches teams off guard all the time. Think of your pipeline like a production line. The parts show up, your process expects them to be in a specific form or format, maybe 10 bolts, 4 brackets, 2 cables. Then all of a sudden one day a supplier adds a new bolt. Your machines weren't built for that. The machines jam, they break, and that's schema drift. Your data changed and your system can't catch up in time. So here's one of my war stories. I once worked on this sales reporting system where we had about 80 stores that were submitting their daily sales via CSVs. One night, a store added a promo code column to one of their CSV files. Our pipeline didn't just throw an error, it just misaligned the data. No errors, no issues, everything else ran fine, but because that column was in the middle of the file, everything else was misaligned. Promo codes ended up in the store ID column, and there was no alerts. Again, everything ran, and nothing threw red flag until the next day. And at that point, we were well into the day. People had already been using those reports, and all of a sudden a senior leader had identified this weirdness in his store's reports. And they looked like they had these huge sales for the previous day, but it wasn't true. So we had to go back and pull all of the sales for that store, rebuild the report, reset the expectations, and build in some schema validation into our pipelines. It was a horrible, miserable, no good week. So schema drift isn't unusual, and it doesn't have to be this catastrophic. Here are some ways to really stay ahead of it. 1, make sure that you're validating incoming schemas before you load the data. Track and version your schemas, especially across environments. You don't know when something's going to revert back. Quarantine unexpected fields rather than assuming that they're safe. Log your schema changes clearly so that the whole team knows when and why the structure is shifted. Review impacted pipelines regularly, especially on shared resources. Even when your data looks fine, the structure matters. You never know when text is going to sneak into a number field and derail your reporting for your whole day. Alright, so this is that time of the video where I'm asking you a question. Have you ever had some schema changes sneak in on you and threw off your whole pipeline, or maybe even your whole week trying to refactor a pipeline to make things work? Let me know down in the comments what your experience has been with schema drift and how you have had to reconcile that. All right, I have one other war story that I want to share with you. You know, a few years back, I woke up again to the kind of message that nobody wants to hear first thing in the morning. The reports didn't refresh, pipelines didn't run. I had to send this email out to our senior leaders letting them know that reports were going to be delayed. Nothing obvious had happened, so I had to dig into the pipeline. And our orchestration had hundreds of individual pipelines that were being orchestrated. It was crazy. And as it turned out, a upstream vendor made a schema change overnight. They added a column and changed the order. And this time, instead of the data flowing through, everything failed. So things just stopped and ground to a halt. The structure had shifted just enough to break our ingestion process. And because we didn't have any schema validation in place, everything just silently failed. I spent the morning fielding emails from confused stakeholders, leaders that couldn't get the data that they needed to get their day going. Trying to explain why people's 8 a.m. dashboards were blank was miserable. It wasn't the code, it was the structure of the data. All right, now let's talk real quickly about data contracts. This is a newer concept that's been around, and these are some things that really can save you from the disasters that can be schema drift. What a data contract is an agreement between you and that source person, whoever owns that source, that if they're going to change something, they're going to let you know X number of days in advance. They're going to let you know what the change is going to be. They're going to know where it's going to be, what the format of the data is going to be, and all the pertinent details so that you can prepare your own pipelines and your own processes for that change. However, this is not a well-adopted process across the whole organization, across any industry. So it might be something that you can get in there and really try to enforce that's gonna help your data team. So data contracts are really a great concept and a way to go. However, don't rely on them even if they're there. All right, so right now you're saying, Chris, that's all great and well, but how do I make this real to me? So let me make this real for you. Let's say, for example, you have a vendor that is sending you JSON payloads daily, and they're dumping it into like an SFTP server or an ADLS or an S3 container. This is a common use case, happens all the time, right? And you're taking that data and you have a Databricks notebook and you're using that to ingest that data into one of your data lake tables. Here is what a basic schema validation step might look like in that case. You'll see here that we're using the data frame function and the list function from these two libraries. We have a list of expected columns. And again, for the expected columns, I would expect that you have a list of templates somewhere in a folder that you're creating a data frame off of to ingest that list of files. It's not hard coded in here. You've got that somewhere exteriorly, so it's not a whole production process, software development lifecycle to make any changes to these scripts. So next, you have a validate schema function that we're creating. It accepts a data frame and the list of expected columns, and then it returns a Boolean object. So Boolean is just true or false. Bool stands for Boolean. Next, we're saying we're creating a incoming variable, and we're saying for field name, for field in the sorry, for each field in the data frame, the new incoming data frame, it's going to list out the actual field names, right? So then it's going to return that true or false. Does the incoming fields match the expected fields? So simple as that. Not real complicated here. And then next, we are creating our data frame of our new file, of our new object that's being ingested. And so here you see we're reading the JSON data in this mounted file location. And then if not validate schema, and we're passing in that data frame along with our expected columns, then it's going to append the data to a parquet in a quarantine location, and it's going to raise an error. Otherwise, it's going to go ahead and append the data to the normal location. So you don't need hundreds of lines of code. You don't need really complicated, complex if statements. You just need a place that says, if it matches, go ahead and send it to where it's supposed to go. And if it doesn't match, then let's quarantine what doesn't match and append with the remaining. So this is just a basic check and with a clear fallback path and a plan so that the rest of your pipeline doesn't fail. So a few final words here. Schema drift doesn't always crash your pipeline. Sometimes it just poisons some of your results quietly. That is why you have to treat your data structure as a part of your pipeline's contract and monitor it like you monitor the rest of your data quality. Again, if you've ever had a column sneak in on you and some data, some schema drift issues, let me know down in the comments. What is your most memorable schema drift issue? Drop it down there and maybe I'll feature it on one of our future episodes.